Hi, everybody. This is Joseph Oakley of Stokely Films. I'm the co-writer, the director, and the creator of the new slasher sensation Specimen 6, which will be out on DVD and digital very soon here in the next few weeks. And welcome to a new episode of Mariana.
Yes, Joseph.
What's this podcast called, Mariana?
I'm Mariana, and welcome to our No Country for Joe and Mariana podcast.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us again. And today we have a very special episode, and I'm so excited for today's episode because we have a filmmaker guest on here, as well as a distributor and a great lover of films, Tony Masiello. Hi, welcome.
Hi, guys.
Thank you for coming on to the show.
No, thanks for having me, guys. Glad to be here.
Tony Masiello is both a filmmaker, a well-known indie filmmaker, shot on video as well as a bunch of other stuff, and he has his distribution company where he preserves lost or classic shot on video horror films and presents those to fans out there who may not know of certain titles. Tony, could you tell us about shot on video horror?
Yeah, so SOV Horror is a DVD distribution company. We've been around, we're in our second year now, and pretty much, yeah, we specialize in releasing lost, obscure, rare shot-on-video horror films. I'm a big shot-on-video movie horror fanatic. They were pretty much the movies that inspired me to get in the film industry myself. So it's kind of my way of paying it back to the community, and you know, I only put out movies we love, you know, that we're really into, and we try to kind of be the criterion of shot-on-video movies. We try to give these movies the love and respect that I feel they deserve, because a lot of people, you know, a lot of people kind of have misconceptions of shot-on-video movies. They judge them adversely because of the format they're shot on and don't really look at the actual content in the films themselves. So we're all about spreading the SOV love at SOV Horror.
That's awesome. Yeah, I completely agree with that sentiment. There is, you know, I check out a lot of different websites and podcasts and things of that nature that kind of, they pop up as shot on video horror reviews. And so you listen to them. A lot of them are very negative, and I can kind of see that with certain ones, but I think people judge them too harshly, as you're saying as well. And they don't really look at what the story is there. They just look at the limitations. And I think maybe a lot of that is people that do review these things don't kind of have that experience of trying to make a film themselves and know what it's like to do that. And therefore, they think it's an easy endeavor, but it really isn't. So the fact that these films get done and these stories get put out there is really incredible. What ended up getting you to start SOV Horror in the first place, and kind of what was the film that like kind of, you know, knocked on your door and said, hey, I need to have this out in the world?
Yeah, so it actually kind of, the whole label actually kind of started on accident. Like I said, I'm a big shot on video movie fan, and since about 2010, I started conducting interviews with various shot on video movie directors to preserve for a web series called SOV The True Independence, which you can also check out at our website, sovhorror.com. And so I kind of started that way. And during one of my interviews, I interviewed a director named Jay Wolfel, who's best known for co-directing one of the segments in the movie Things, as well as he did Beyond Dream's Door, Demonica's Demon Gladiator from Hell. And when I was hanging out with Jay and interviewing him, you know, I told him I was a big fan of VHS, and he's like, oh, well, I have some tapes, you know, that I don't really have much of a need for anymore if you maybe want some of these old tapes. And I was like, oh, yes, please. You know, I'm a big collector, so I was more than happy to take them off of his hands. And one of the tapes was a dub tape. It had a few different movies on it. And one of them I noticed immediately was a film called Dead Silence, which is a film by Hugh Gallagher, who's one of my favorite shot-on-video movie directors. He did gore horror, gorerotica, goregasm, some really good stuff. And at the time, Dead Silence was really rare. Like, you couldn't find that movie at all. That was before the SRS re-release of it. And so I was really excited about Dead Silence. And I noticed, though, before it, there's a movie called Metal Noir. And I'm like, what is this? I'm a big horror freak. Usually I've heard of most titles. And I'm like, I've never heard of this. What is this? And so I decided to check out Metal Noir, and I was just completely blown away. It's this just crazy shot on video movie, really cool. It actually has early acting roles by Charles Pinion, who's best known for directing Twisted Issues, Red Spirit Lake, and then Hugh Gallagher actually has an acting role in it as well. And so I was like, wow, this movie's really cool. I should like write a review or something for the website for this. And so I always like to do research on any titles that I do a review or anything on. And as I was doing research, I realized I don't think this movie's ever been released. And I start digging through old issues of Draculina magazine and stuff like that, trying to find any info I can on this movie. And because I knew Hugh Gallagher was connected to it, and he used to run Draculina magazine. And I ended up finding an article that said the movie was never released, that it had a distributor, but the distributor fell apart and the movie just never got released. And so I hooked up with the director, David R. Williams, and, asked him, hey, would you be interested in putting this out? And he's like, yeah, I'd love to put it out. And so began the journey of releasing Metal Noir, which was definitely a huge process. Unfortunately, the masters were destroyed in a flood. And the only known existing copies was the copy that I had, as well as, which was a dub of a dub of a dub. So it looked really bad. It had a lot of rolling picture artifacts and stuff like that. And then I was able to track down a work print that Charles Pinion had, but the work print was incomplete. It was missing a bunch of stuff. There was no music, so the soundtrack wasn't there. So I went through this painstaking process, but it looked a lot better though than my copy. So I went through the process of re-editing the movie from scratch with those elements. And lucky enough, I was able to find the original soundtrack as well. And it took about 6 months to reproduce the movie. It was very important to me to reproduce it shot for shot, frame for frame. I wanted to be exactly like what I saw that first time, but just better quality. And once Metal Noir was released, it was like, hey, let's just keep doing this, but maybe we can do some other movies, So that's kind of how we started. Long story.
No, that's awesome. I was lucky enough that you sent me a screener of Metal Noir, and I sat there and I watched it, and I was blown away, to be quite honest, because it is such a cool story about a horror writer that shows up at this house, and there's some strange things that happen. I don't want to give away too much. But they build such an interesting mythology, and I was noticing in the interview that you did with the director, he kind of mentions the influence of Hellraiser, and you can definitely feel that in the film. And but I thought it was like that movie kind of triggered in me like what is so special about shot on video horror. It's like some people have a story in their heart, and they want to tell that story so badly that they won't let the limitations stop them. And then I thought the movie was so freaking cool with what he did with twisting the camera around to show the kind of not just the upstairs from the downstairs, but like the reality from the dream world. And that had one of the coolest sex scenes I've ever seen in my life. It's just a blood-covered, crazy sex scene, and so much good. I mean, Mariana knows that I absolutely adore fake blood-covered boobs. It's just kind of my thing. And so I actually...
Not like personal experience, but I've seen it.
He just knows me. And but yeah, by the end of the film, I was blown away. I thought it was such a cool story. So much so that I already own a few of the other films that you've distributed, but I instantly went online and I purchased my own copy, so that's coming. So I can't wait to have that in hand and watch it again. I guess that's really. There's more to talk about the film, but that would be at a different time. But I mean, what are some of the other films?
Can I ask a question about Metal Noir? Were you like when you put it out there? It's the best that it can be, right?
Yes.
Do you feel like it's kind of like a message in a bottle for someone out there that might have something that could supplement it to make it even better?
Oh, I'd love if someone would find another copy and be able to send it to me. Unfortunately, as far as I know, only a handful of review copies actually got out there. And long story short, my copy I ended up getting was originally belonged to a reviewer who worked for a review magazine, and that's how he ended up getting a copy, and he passed it on to Jay Wolfel. I did recently acquire another copy of the work print that is it's covered in mold though, and so I am hoping that we might be able to restore that down the line and possibly do another release of the movie down the line, maybe even a Blu-ray release with a few different cuts of the movie on there, you know, the work print cut and then the regular cut, as well as maybe the what I would call the bootleg cut, which is that initial version I watched. So, but yes, I mean, if someone has a copy, please reach out. Please reach out. We'd love to get out a nice copy of the movie.
So you send it out into the universe, and it comes
Yes.
back sometimes.
For sure.
You know what I really liked about Metal Noir also was kind of that grainy kind of best it could. You know, there's certain scenes that it gets kind of scratchy. It almost it kind of complements the story in a way. It gives it this visceral feel as you're watching it, and so it would be interesting to see some other cuts of it. But I gotta say, as far as like, if you're a big fan of shot on video horror, do go to SOV Horror and purchase a copy of that movie, because there is a great story in there, and some just really great filmmaking techniques, I think, that are deployed in it. Could you tell us about some of the other titles that you've distributed so far?
Yeah, so let's see. We also have Zombrella's House of Horrors. That was our second release, which is a film I co-directed with Tim Ritter. Let's see, what else? The Spirit Gallery, which was another very obscure lost movie directed by John Strysick, who's best known for directing episodes of Tales from the Dark Side, as well as the Monsters television series. We also put out Mondo Bizarro, which is a kind of cheesy cable access show I made in college. A bunch of Warlock titles, so a bunch of titles from Chris Seaver's Warlock home video line, like Dibecue, Death of Lantern, Stoinky Beach, Happy Holidays, Dingleberries, An Evening with My Great Aunt Bedelia. And recently we just put out a limited release of Mac Hale's 1992 never released shot on video short film called The Roommate. And people not familiar with Mac Hale, he directed the 1995 movie Mr. Ice Cream Man, not to be confused with the Clint Howard Ice Cream Man that actually came out around the same time. And there's actually a very interesting story about those movies and how they kind of both exist. And Fangoria actually did a really cool article about it back in the day, that, you know, the tale of two ice cream men. Sadly though, Mr. Ice Cream Man's been pretty forgotten because it's been long out of print. Not many people have seen it. And so we're actually going to be releasing that. That's our next release. That's going to be coming out sometime here this month. And we've also announced a few other titles. We're going to be releasing our first shot on film release, which is Michael Lucas's 1988 movie Blood Orgy of the Leather Girls. This has never had a DVD release ever, a very limited VHS release. So that one's really excited about that one. And we also have announced we're putting out Chris LaMartina's first two movies, probably best known for making Call Girl Cthulhu and WNUF Halloween Special. So we're putting out his first movie, Amerikill, which he made when he was only 14 years old. And I mean, talk about an impressive movie. I mean, 14 years old, you can see how much talent he had even back then. And then the follow-up, Dead Teenagers. And then on top of that, I have about 15 more titles we're going to be releasing, but I don't want to divulge any of those quite yet.
Yeah, totally understand. There's a lot of things in the works. Yeah, there's, you know, I really do. I think I have maybe 4 other movies that I've ordered from you that are coming in the mail now. So I'm really looking forward to those. The Roommate there, I got that. What I really enjoy about all of these DVDs is how much detail and kind of passion goes into the artwork itself. And you pick up the DVDs and you just think, wow, that just looks incredible. And then you go even a step further and you put things like this in there, which I thought was really cool. So, and that's kind of this article they talk about in the film, The Spirit Gallery. And then you have it in your hand and you see that's framed up there in the film. And I thought that was so cool. And Zombrella has something similar to that. I just think it's really awesome preserving films like that and kind of preserving the artwork and bringing it out there to the people.
Yeah, we try to put out, really nice packages of all the movies, and a lot of the art is done by an artist named Jason Gilmore, who works for a company called Bloodscream Comics, and amazing artist, real nice guy, big fan of the genre as well, and he doesn't do all the art for our releases, but all of our flagship titles he does for us, and yeah, very fortunate for great cover art. I love his stuff.
That's awesome. Let's see here. Well, I guess I just wanted to kind of like get that stuff out there to the people to go check out SOV Horror and everything like that. Is there anything else that you wanted to ask Tony, Mariana? Are you just gonna?
I just want to say that I'm really excited for Amerikiller because I just like the idea of someone just going around just offing a bunch of children.
It's killing kids, as the tagline says.
Yeah. I saw the trailer for that one. That one looks really cool. I think
it's basically a series of like awesome kills, I think.
It's pretty much if a 14-year-old made Scream with more gore and a love for shot-on-video horror movies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's even better than Scream.
Yes.
All right, cool. So I guess that's pretty much it. But you also have your YouTube channel too, don't you, Tony? The SOV Horror. So I've gone to that. Plus, you have your website. So I'd recommend everybody to go and subscribe to SOV Horror. I enjoy SOV and beers quite a bit. That's a fun show that you put on there. That you kind of also showcase other. Is there anything else, I guess, that you wanted to promote while we're here, Tony?
No, just, hey, check out sovhorror.com if you're into shot-on-video horror movies. And I say, even if, if you're not really into shot-on-video horror movies, give one a shot. There's movies like The Spirit Gallery that I think are just, and Metal Noir, both of those. I really feel if those movies were shot on film, they'd be considered cult classics. Mm-hmm. And you would see companies like Arrow and Vinegar Syndrome putting those out, But unfortunately, because they're shot on video, and they're rare, these types of movies got a stigma. And I say, open up your mind a little bit. Check out something a little outside your box. You might be pleasantly surprised at what you find.
That's great. Okay, that's perfect. I think that's a good ending. So thank you for joining us today, Tony. And we'll just kind of keep this short. And we will see everybody back here again with a new episode in a couple days. All right. See everybody soon. Bye.
Thanks, guys.